As we start off, I mentioned yesterday, I'm pleased that we've expanded the briefing room, at least virtually. And so with that, as I begin to take your questions, I'm pleased to offer the first ever Skype seat question in the White House briefing room to Kim Kalunian from WPRI in Rhode Island. Kim?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. Just this week, the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, began calling our capital city a sanctuary city. As we know, President Trump's executive order says the White House will begin publicizing a weekly list of these municipalities and pledges to withdraw federal grant money from them. What I'm wondering is how soon we can expect to see this list, and how soon should cities like Providence expect to see their federal funding cut?
Thanks, Kim. I think the president's goal in ending sanctuary cities is pretty clear. We want to, as we mentioned with these other actions, keep America safe. The goal is to make sure on two fronts. One, that we're doing everything we can to protect American citizens, institutions, and ending sanctuary cities is one of the ways in which we continue to do that. Furthermore, the president's been very clear through his executive order that federal funds paid for by hardworking taxpayers should not be used to help fund sanctuary cities. As we continue to implement this executive order and fulfill the pledge that he made, we'll have further updates on how that list will come out and when it will come out. So I look forward to following up on that as well. With that, David Jackson. We're going to the second Skype seat, Natalie Herbeck from Fox 8 in Cleveland, Ohio. Natalie.
Secretary Spicer, thank you so much for this rare opportunity. I appreciate it. I'm learning the ropes here.
Natalie, you're coming back.
I'd also like to quickly ask two questions, if I may. The first one being, President Trump has been quick to take action on several issues he's addressed along the campaign trail. And with that in mind, he made a stop here in Cleveland, and he said that he would like to make cities like ours the economic envy of the world. A bold statement. So our viewers would love to know an example, a specific example, as to how he plans to do this sooner than later.
That's a great question, Natalie. I think it's not just Cleveland, but it's Detroit and so many of the other cities around the country. You've heard the president talk about the need to rebuild our inner cities. We were really impressed with Cleveland. This past July, we went there for the national convention. The people of Cleveland, their desire and the rebound that the city has taken. And I think that when you go to whether it's a city like Cleveland or Detroit, through different tax and regulatory measures, there's a way that we can continue to bring manufacturing back, we can continue to bring jobs back, and whether it's Harley Davidson or Carrier or Lockheed or Boeing or the GM, Fiat, Ford, these companies he continues to talk with about how they can bring jobs back, relocate things. That was, again, another one of the conversations that he had with the pharmaceutical companies yesterday. How can they bring jobs back? How can we ease regulations to do that? So it's about making sure that we have an environment, Natalie, that allows more cities to compete, to grow the manufacturing base, and to recognize the things that we can do tax-wise and regulatory-wise to allow that to flourish. Cecilia. With that, I want to go to my third Skype seat, Lars Larson of The Lars Larson Show.
Commander Spicer, it's a pleasure. Thanks for your service to America, and thanks for the opportunity. I've got a broad question. The federal government is the biggest landlord in America. It owns 2/3 of 1 billion acres of America. I don't think the founders ever envisioned it that way. Does President Trump want to start returning the people's land to the people? And in the meantime, for a second question, since that's in fashion these days, can he tell the Forest Service to start logging our forests aggressively again to provide jobs for Americans, wealth for the Treasury, and not spend $3.5 billion a year fighting forest fires?
Thanks, Lars. I think the president's been very clear that as part of an overall comprehensive energy solution, that we've got to utilize the resources that we have that the federal government owns, whether that's the forests or natural resources or minerals that exist above and below the ground, that we have too infrequently looked at our own resources and counted too much on foreign sources of energy. So, we're going to continue as Congressman Zinke goes through the process to head up the Interior Department, and Governor Perry goes through his confirmation process to get those individuals through, but then working together and in areas where they have overlap and also in areas where they will act individually to look at those natural resources that we have, figure out how to best utilize them to benefit not just our energy, but also economic growth opportunities with that. Daniel Happer. With that, let me go to the last question on the Skype, and then we'll continue. Jeff Job of South Central Kentucky, of the Jeff Job Publishing in South Central Kentucky. Jeff.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of today's White House press briefing. Clearly, anyone paying attention will see that President Trump is aggressively acting on his campaign promises. This in itself gives hopes to my state, and particularly the region in which I grew up, Appalachia. We've seen countless politicians make promises at both state and national levels, and not only forget us, but to turn on it. So my question is, how soon or when will the rules restricting coal mining, coal burning, and coal exports be reversed? Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I've talked about this a couple times so far, but I believe, the president has very clearly stated that clean coal in particular is an issue that's so important to our energy independence as well as our job creation in this country. And so whether you're talking about Kentucky or West Virginia or Pennsylvania or so many other places in this country that rely on coal, bringing the production of clean coal back is good for our energy independence, it's good for our economy, it's good for job creation, and it's something that he continues to talk about. And I think once we have Secretary of Energy confirmed, that we can continue to take steps to move forward with. Finn Gomez.